All right. Welcome to Halitics. I'm a little delayed. I may just start my application here. Give me 1 second. We'll restart this in a second. I'm not going to turn off the live stream, however. No, I guess I can't do that. All right. So welcome to Halitics. We'll be a little bit delayed. It's okay. Thanks so much for watching on this day after Memorial Day. We do have Maury Johnson joining us in just a moment. I also promised that I would talk about RFK Jr. Maury's a little bit late, so let's get into it. RFK Jr. doing okay. This is from Fox a couple days ago. A thorn in Biden's side as 2024 polls show Kennedy holding on to a sizable chunk of Dem voters. Now, I was one of those voters. I guess I'm a Dem voter. Not sure if I would absolutely call myself a Democratic voter, but I usually do vote. At least I always vote in Democratic primaries, even if I don't always vote for the Democrat in the general election. And I have been inclined, and I've talked about this, to vote for RFK Jr. at this point. And I no longer feel that way. Right now, I don't know that I would vote in the Democratic primary. So we'll get into that. But the polling does show that RFK Jr. is doing okay. And if I were a Democratic strategist, and if I only cared about winning the general election, I would be not sure what to do at this point, because I could see possibly RFK Jr. maybe having slightly more appeal, broad stream than Biden. I mean, he's a lot younger. He has the Kennedy name. And he has some cross-aisle appeal. Of course, the reason that he has some of that cross-aisle appeal is precisely why I've kind of lost my interest in supporting him. So let's get into that. And I want to show this video here with Crystal Ball. I've showed some of her interview with him before. She got a lot of heat, very unfair heat. I believe dishonest. I don't know. It's hard to say dishonest. Jimmy's just become such a rabid anti-establishment figure at this point, and playing to anti-establishment Americans, that he takes views that are just counter to reality, because he believes, I suppose, that that's what the establishment doesn't want. And if they don't want it, if the elites don't want something, then for Jimmy, that's a good thing. But sometimes the elites are right. Lots of times, as my son has pointed out, as much as we may find them bad people, selfish, arrogant, just unconcerned with the general welfare, every now and then they get something right. And certainly the climate cataclysm is one of those. And another is, as much as I have problems with for-profit healthcare, we have to acknowledge that there have been tremendous advances that have been brought to us because of for-profit healthcare. There have been a lot of benefits from vaccines. I mean, they've saved probably billions of lives, many, many, many millions of lives, and made our life, parents would routinely, up until the 50s, be heartbroken when children would get polio. Lives would be shattered. The flu was a deadly, deadly pandemic until we had antibiotics. Obviously, smallpox ravaged the world, as did the plague. And vaccines have addressed all of those. Now, do I have a problem with for-profit healthcare? Of course I do. But that doesn't mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater, as RFK Jr. seems to suggest. All right, I've got Maury with us, I believe. So let me get Maury on right now, and we'll talk. We'll talk with Maury about the MVP, the Mountain Valley Pipeline, and how it's included for now in the sinister, I don't know what word we want to use, the sinister deal that was reached between Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden. And I showed two wolves and a sheep because I thought that was kind of a good image. And we're getting lots of calls in here. We're going to try to take these calls, I promise you. Just let me get Maury on. Maury, you should be able to hear me at this point. So I'll be with you in just a sec, I promise. I just need to get the video set up with Maury, and we'll have him join us in just an instant. There he is. I can see him now. So we're going to get Maury right on our screen. We'll start you should be able to see the camera there, Maury. Let me put you there. It's going to take one more second. And as we play around with our video. So here we go. Let's get Hero from the Holler, Maury Johnson. And hey, Maury, thanks for joining us. You kind of paid the price for being a little tardy, so I had to start up talking about RFK Jr. Good morning, Maury. I'm not hearing you. Let's see why not. You want to try your dial pad?
I've got a problem. Too much noise here. Can you let me talk on the phone?
Yeah, you're good. I can see and hear you right now, so this is working. Go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Maury. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
and now I hear myself as well. You know what? I might ask you if you want to try to get your setup correct in the next, 15 minutes and then call back, because I can talk about RFK Jr. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and, all right. Sounds good. So let's get back to our friend RFK Jr. We'll turn off there we go. That was a nice little interruption, folks. Just a little bit behind the scenes, right? So there you go. RFK Jr. remains thorn in Biden's side. We'll go right back to it as 2024 polls show Kennedy holding on to sizable chunk. Yeah, 16%. I would be nervous. Why am I not and whatever term you want to use, why am I not an RFK Jr. supporter? When at first I was, I'm not fine with anti-vax stuff. I think his suspicions about for-profit healthcare and their motivations are very, very legitimate. I get that. But there just simply is no evidence to support the argument that, there was one poll that came out, not poll, that's the wrong word. There was one study many years ago that seemed to suggest that there was a link between autism and vax and the thimerosal, and that was disproven. It simply was. And RFK Jr. is the only one to let that go. Now, that alone might not have kept me from voting for him, because his pro-peace view is really important to me. But he's also come out as a climate crisis doubter to some degree. And again, I mentioned the climate crisis because that's something that the establishment gets. Now, is the establishment supporting what we need to do to end the climate catastrophe that we've caused? No, not at all. Not in the least. But the reality is humans are burning our mother up in very short order. And if RFK Jr. is going to express question that, doubt that, well, I can't support the guy. Let's get into some of the videos that really frustrated me with him. And here he's going to be, we're going to play this with Crystal Ball and again, Jimmy totally missing the mark here. And partly, I think, because he's mad at Crystal, but also because he just doesn't want to support anything that he views as establishment beliefs, even if they're obviously true. All right, so let's see. I'm not hearing them. Of course, there's always going to be something going wrong. Why am I not hearing that audio? We will get it, I promise, folks. See, the problem is, and let me tell you why this has happened, because yesterday when Jack was on, we had to make a few little changes to the system, and obviously that's not at all. Let's get rid of that. All right, well, as Coach would say, what would Coach say? As Coach would say, the rehearsal is going beautifully this morning, just perfect. And I'm almost inclined to simply throw up my hands, but I'm not going to do that because I really want to get this on. And I think anytime, any changes, we always run into issues. Let's see if we can get this to work right now. So we want the output should be 10. I don't know if I have it at 8. Get that output at 10. It should work because I do want to get it here. So let's see if we can get it to work now.
Tragically, we know
So
how that ended. He took a lot of grief.
That is that is RFK. There we go. All right, here we go, folks. Now we're going to hear why I am angry with RFK
Explain
Jr.
to me why the countries that were unvaccinated did much better than our.
Many of those countries, because there are a lot of different factors in various countries. So a lot of those countries, as you pointed out before,
why do we have the highest death rate in the world by far?
I think there are a lot of factors.
All right, so let me stop that there because RFK Jr. said a lot of things there, and they're all false. First of all, we don't have a higher death rate than all the countries that were unvaccinated. I may have shown this before, but it's important that we understand this. Here are 4 countries in Europe that have much higher rates of without vaccination than us: Georgia, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And they all have significantly higher death rates than we do. It is true that Africa, it appears, has lower death rates than we do, and they also have lower vaccination rates. It's unclear how accurate the numbers are from Africa. But what we do know is that at least when it comes to Eastern Europe, the death rates were higher and the vaccination rates were lower. So he's just wrong there. It's just not accurate what he said. And you can argue all you want that these are smaller countries or this or that. The fact is those countries did not vaccinate their people and they had higher mortality. Now, it's not just a question of deaths that have been identified as from COVID. These also include just the excess deaths. In other words, more people dying than are expected. And a number of countries, and I circled them there, had much higher death rates than we did, excess deaths than we did. You can see it on the right. The number 665, 550, etc. Many more excess deaths than the United States. And the ones circled also had lower vaccination rates. So it's just not true what RFK Jr. is saying. It just doesn't comport with reality. And then again, I played clips where he questioned the science behind the climate cataclysm. I want to play this now. This is from where he addresses the Bitcoin people. And this really was, for me, the last straw. So Bitcoin is a scam. It is not real currency. It has no intrinsic value. It is purely a greater fool theory commodity. And it's a widget. It has no intrinsic value whatsoever. Its value only comes from when people say, I'll take it, I'll accept it in payment. But no one has to. That's the opposite of currency. RFK Jr. is going to go on about fiat currency, which is where your government says this currency is what we use to settle debts. And that has value, obviously, because if you owe somebody money, you pay them in, quote, fiat, unquote, currency. He uses fiat as kind of a pejorative because he's saying, oh, that's the government saying you have to pay it. That's what governments are for. That's why we have them. If you don't have any government, then you have anarchy. You have rule by the rich, the powerful, the person with the biggest guns and the most cannons. That is apparently what RFK Jr. wants. Now, does this mean I'm going to vote for Marianne Williamson? No. Does this mean I'm going to vote for Joe Biden? No. I mean, I don't know for whom to vote. But this is very, very troubling. And I don't know how we can I don't know how. Look, and I know a lot of folks out there, they want to believe in Bitcoin. When I posted something that he was a Bitcoin guy, and I didn't know this, a crypto guy, some people like that. I don't know what to do with that. At some point we lose our ability to reason with each other because there's a belief, right? Like people who believe in MMT, modern monetary theory, as though that has some sort of real intellectual ideas behind it. It's not. It's a very poor, uneducated person's Keynesian economics, which is real, which is the truth, which does have scientific evidence to prove it works. All right, let's play this because it's so troubling to me. A lot of it, but I think we have to go through it. This is a guy who's a legitimate candidate for president. One I was very seriously considering supporting and thought we should look closely at, and I've done it, and I've looked closely at him, and I cannot support RFK Jr.
Has a good enough excuse. The government can now take away all of our freedoms. And guess what? There is always a good excuse. Whether it's to stop a new disease, the next pandemic, to protect us from misinformation, to prevent domestic terrorism, to stop hate speech, to prosecute a war, or to fight climate change. But all
right, so I wanted to play that part of this clip because he throws in to fight climate change as an excuse that the government can use to suppress dissent, to erode or to rescind our rights. And that is very problematic because the government hasn't used the climate cataclysm to rescind anyone's rights. Unfortunately, we're not doing nearly enough to stop the onrushing Armageddon that is the climate crisis caused by human beings. But when RFK Jr. says that, he is putting in people's minds the idea that somehow steps that we must take to address the crisis could be or will be or are going to be fascistic in nature, are going to represent some kind of rescission of our civil rights. And it's just not true. It's just not an accurate description of what we need to do to fight the climate crisis. What we need to do to fight the climate crisis is raise the price of fossil fuels to ever increasingly high levels to dissuade anyone from purchasing them and consuming them. That's what we should do. The last thing we should be doing is green lighting pipelines and other ways of extracting more fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, oil, the like. So RFK Jr. is actually throwing some cold water on the fact of anthropogenic global warming. And that's very, very problematic.
of these reasons can easily turn into pretexts. Control over the public starts perhaps as a means, but it always becomes an end. It's part of the unstated and seductive ideology of totalitarianism that utopia will come through exercising perfect control over society. And that works well as long as the good guys are in control, or your guys are in control. Bitcoin is a bulwark against precisely this kind of government and corporate expansion and intrusion. In fact, it has been used.
All right, so that's just, crazy talk. How could Bitcoin possibly be, and he doesn't explain it, it can't be some bogus currency, quote currency. It's like tulip bulbs, except tulip bulbs actually had some real value, right? Because you could plant a tulip bulb and then you'd get tulips every year for a while. because they're perennials. And they'd be these, beautiful tulips from Turkey or near Asia with lots of stripes and things in them. And the fancier they were, the more it would be valued on the market. But crypto has no value. It's simply a block of numbers that people lose. And the second someone says, I don't want that crypto, I'm not going to accept it as a debt, its value is gone. It's nothing. I don't understand that art. I mean, it makes zero sense. What it is it's a scam. It's a way to impoverish people. I heard Sagar from Crystal and Sagar talk about how he was so upset because he lost some money in crypto. He had put it in crypto and it was going to be his retirement money. And I thought, well, first of all, you're full of crap. You have lots of money. You make a ton probably from now all your different video ventures and your live streaming, etc. But okay, you were trying to simply take money from somebody else, right? It's not like look, you buy stock in a company, the company makes something, and presumably if it's something we all want, if it's something that's good, which some companies do, I don't know what's something like a door. I always use that as a good example, a door. So a company makes, or shirts, right? And hopefully if it's, shirts made in the United States, then people make a decent living. The employees are able to pay for a home and food and live, and we get a shirt, and then it keeps making shirts. That's a positive, right? That's good, and it's sustainable. But there's nothing sustainable about crypto. I mean, it just boggles my mind. And I know Jimmy Dore did a pan to crypto as well. And I was like, what is the matter with these people? These are people that I respected, that I had thought were pretty good, that were exposing the corruption in the Democratic Party, which people on the left refused to do. So I was giving them a lot of credit for that. RFK Jr. correctly opposing the war in Ukraine, calling for peace. But I mean, now he's questioning climate science. Now he's saying somehow buy this faux intangible, which by the way is incredibly bad for the environment because the crypto mining uses up tremendous amounts of electricity, of energy to mine with your computer. So it's actually really bad for the environment. I'm just like I don't know what to do with this stuff. Except say, well, we have no friends, we have no allies, nobody. Because the people running for president are what? A completely a narcissistic former game show host, former failed president who has demonstrated repeatedly his only real concern is himself and maybe slightly his family, has zero morality, not the worst president ever, no, but far from one of the better ones. We've got this guy Biden who's kind of doddering and frankly just made an awful proposal to greenlight the Mountain Valley Pipeline, has already opened up the Arctic coast, the beaches of the Arctic, for more drilling. That's not acceptable. Marianne Williams supporting his war, his proxy war in Ukraine. Somebody, I don't know what self-help crap. And then this guy now, RFK Jr., anti-vaxxer, in the teeth of evidence to the contrary, which I could excuse maybe because of his pro-peace position, but now throwing cold water on the fact of human-caused climate crisis and extolling a complete scam, crypto. Sorry, can't do it, folks.
It has been used to bypass oppressive government controls over the monetary systems, as in Canada and Myanmar. As president, I will make sure that your right to hold and use Bitcoin is inviolable.
Well, that's fine. You want to hold Bitcoin, go ahead. And you want to use it, if someone will accept it, I have no problem with that. But to pretend, to claim that it has some sort of freedom, potential for freedom is insane. It doesn't, I mean, what is it? You can get your money out of the country with it? Is that it? You can secret it somehow? I don't know. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying that one bit. The solution isn't to get rid of government. That's never been the solution. The solution is to make the government better, to have the government responsive, to have the government incorruptible, because we don't have massive wealth and income inequality. We don't even have significant wealth and income inequality. We have some incentives for people to create, build, to start companies that generate employment and provide positive goods and services. That's the way you address bad government, corrupt government, warlike governments. All the problems that we face today have been with us since the beginning of time, except for, the climate cataclysm. But even there are analogies to environmental and ecological catastrophes caused by humans in the past. I understand everyone wants a quick fix. Oh, just let's use modern monetary theory. Oh, let's just have crypto. Oh, let's pretend there's no real climate crisis. That's not going to work. There is a solution, and people just are so, and I don't understand it. I just don't. No matter what, there's such a revulsion, the idea of just basically taxing the hell out of the rich and powerful, guaranteeing everyone a decent life, and especially now with the climate cataclysm, putting massive taxes on fossil fuels. I mean, that's how you... But look, I can talk till I'm blue in the face, and it's not going to matter. Let's see if I hope we get Maury back. I'm hoping Maury's with us. I know we were struggling to get him before, and he is, and I see him. So I'm going to bring you on right now, Maury. If I can get my video to work here. Blah, blah, blah. Now I can see him. There we go. There we go. Get you on there. And how you doing, Maury?
Well, it's been a heck of a morning here, the hell. I ended up rushing
Well,
to
you're not the
DC.
only one with tech issues.
Yeah. I rushed off to DC yesterday morning. I was supposed to be here next week for a rally and stuff, and I was telling somebody I got some things I got to do this week, and since I got to drive up, and then I looked at my suitcase, which was still packed from all the trips I've been up here, and I said, well, I can wash my clothes when I get to the hotel. And I rushed up here yesterday, and when I went to charge my computer last night, I didn't have my computer charger. So I went on a Great American Computer Charger hunt this morning, starting at 6 o'clock, and finally got one at 10. So I didn't have any meetings this morning. So I'm actually sitting in my car outside of a Starbucks in Tacoma, Maryland. And I got a little bit of charge in my computer.
Oh, you're
so
Tacoma Park. If possible, I will try to join you a little later if you're still in. I think you froze, though. We just lost Maury. We lost him, and not only did we lose him, but we're also getting this lovely video of.
I was going to do it.
Let's go ahead, Maury. I'm sorry. You come fading in and out. It's really tough.
Yeah, I'm sitting outside of the Starbucks because they have music jamming inside. So it's too loud in there. So I'm just outside sitting in my vehicle And I thought we'd talk about this real quickly and tell people what they can do and what the status of all this is.
All right, I'm going to see if I can get that slide deck up. I've been struggling too with tech issues. It has not been a great morning for me. Did share information about our friend RFK Jr. I don't know if you probably caught a little bit of that, maybe not.
I caught a little bit
really
of
going on about it, and I find it very upsetting because obviously we're not happy with our friend Joe Biden and his close relationship with Joe Manchin, including that pipeline in the latest deal here to raise the debt ceiling. Your sense is we can beat this thing? Is that right?
If we can't beat this, the whole country is sunk, because this is so anti-democracy and probably unconstitutional that it sets up precedent that if you want to build a project, you don't have to do permitting. You don't have to go through the legal steps. You can just pay a influential senator or a group of senators a few $100,000 and you can do whatever you want, and they can take. This is what dictatorships do. This is even worse than the so-called dirty deal. This is what I call the super illegal, dirty and deadly deal.
One of the things that I think is important for people to understand, Maury, is that Biden, and I don't know why I'm getting that ridiculous video playing. I got to turn that thing off somehow. It keeps wanting to. I'm having all kind of problems, and I don't even know. There it is. Okay, now we'll get rid of it. So yeah, that video is of the devastation wrought in Bakhmut, which I've used in other programs. A lot of sketchy stuff today. I want to get your West Virginia power label, but what I'm saying, Maury, is, and we saw this. This is something that it looks like Biden wants too. It's not just like, oh, he's being forced into it. This is something he apparently does want.
I think that Joe Manchin.
Do you feel?
I think Joe Manchin said, "You either do this, or I'll vote against everything." That's what I want to think. I mean, I want to give him benefit of the doubt, unless he made a deal. And he's hooked on it. Whether he was really for the deal, I don't know. But he's weak, as I said in my statement. He's weak. He has no backbone to stand up to these people, and he is now a liar. I mean, it's just plain and simple. He told everybody during the election that he was going to be the president, and he's actually permitted more projects than Trump did. He's done this big oil drilling area in Alaska, and now this. He cannot win election. The coalition of people that came out to vote for him, especially the youth, will not vote for him. And that's, we need to do better.
Is it your sense, Maury, that the progressives, because we've heard a lot of opposition from the hard right, the so-called Freedom Caucus, to this, because for them it doesn't do, the cuts aren't deep enough, they don't go to the bone in certain areas. What about the progressives? Do you feel, and you talk to them, you're a well-known figure now.
They're highly upset. They are highly upset with this and some other things in the debt deal. So I know that. Let's talk about this deal for a second. So Joe Manchin has taken, I think, in excess of $700,000 from the fossil fuel companies to do this. So he is nothing more than a high-paid lobbyist. People are worried about him winning in the Senate so they can keep it Democratic. I can tell you from West Virginia that Joe Manchin will not win re-election in West Virginia. We're a red state, and Jim Justice, the governor, and that's a topic for another day, will beat him. And the progressives and the Democrats in West Virginia most of the Democrats in West Virginia are pretty progressive, as Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton in the Democratic primary in 2016. Joe Manchin has burnt his bridges with a lot of people. So I just don't think that Joe Manchin has any chance in anywhere of winning re-election in West Virginia. So they're trying to salvage his seat. The Republicans don't want to give him a win because they want to make sure he doesn't win. So the politics in West Virginia is it's complicated, but it's not. So I know that recently just heard that there's a Republican, I think it's a Republican House member from Texas. I think it's Republican. And then Jennifer McKellen from Virginia, both are going to offer amendments to strip this from the House. I think we have a really good chance of getting rid of this in the House. But people's got to call. They've got to get pressure on. I think I sent you some information that you can share with readers, watchers. They need to keep this up. 3 o'clock is really important. Get these calls coming in, let them know that we are not pleased with them trying to just completely.
Oh, we're losing you again, Maury. The audio is sketchy, but I thought it was just too important not to have this conversation. Go ahead. Yeah, it's not great. So sorry about that, folks. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's really, really upsetting. I mean, we don't have a government that represents us. We have a government that represents corporations and super rich and powerful people, which, by the way, includes Joe Manchin. I mean, he's a millionaire many folds over. And it's really hard to believe. I'll put some links in after the program to how people can take steps. But look, it's a disaster. The debt ceiling agreement would block any challenges to approvals for the line, which is going to cut across federal forests and dozens of waterways in Appalachia's hilly, wet terrain. I thought we were supposed to be protecting our waterways, Maury.
It's a lot of bedrock environmental laws since the 50s. Since not the 50s, for 50 years, like 72. And those have made it expensive for industry just to do whatever they want to do. So they're now trying to get rid of those. They're trying to gut the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act, the NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act, because even though they're having record profits, they want more. And then they can donate those profits to more senators and congressmen and choose the people that make these laws. And that's Citizens United is where this all started. That's the really big thing.
So Maury, there's an article in the Washington Post, I think it was the Post, maybe it was New York Times, by a former energy person in the Biden administration touting their success with bringing online or more and more applications for clean energy projects, solar, wind, and the like. But to me, that's so what? I mean, what we have to do is not build more energy projects, even if they are clean and green. We just need to stop the fossil fuel projects. Now we're losing you again. It's been really a tough. Go ahead.
Better?
It's off and on. You look great. I mean, the visuals are good, although you're bouncing around. It's just the audio is a challenge.
My computer. I'm standing outside of Starbucks holding my computer.
I'll tell you what. Maybe we can try this again in a day or two. Maybe on Friday or tomorrow if you're available. Last word.
I'll talk to you tonight. But the main thing people need to know is they've got to make these phone calls today by 3 o'clock. And you can share that information to people.
All right. What's the number you want people to call, Maury?
I'll send you a link. There's a bunch of them. I'll send you the link one more time when we get off here. Okay.
All right. So then send me the link and I'll go ahead and put them in as soon as this program's over. Thanks so much, Maury.
Okay.
Great to talk to you. And we'll
Bye-bye.
try to work this out going forward. Yes, folks, sorry about the tech issues, but I really wanted to bring you this because it's that important. I mean, there's no challenge we face that's more serious than the climate cataclysm. And one story that I was pleased, I was going to bring this up to Maury, but because of the tech issues, couldn't do it. Not just that the Sierra Club has called on Congress to reject it, and not even that Tim Kaine, the Virginia senator, the slightly less conservative Democratic U.S. senator from Virginia, opposes it. But according to the Post, so does Mark Warner, the other very corporate Virginia U.S. senator. So that could make a difference. That really could. The only other, so that's a big deal. And I'm hopeful that we can make this, stop it. We'll see. One thing I also found rather interesting is that none of the Democrats in Maryland, in my state, were considered key targets. In other words, nobody said, hey, we've got to reach out to Jamie Raskin, we've got to reach out to Chris Van Hollen and get them on board, which I take as a positive sign. I think that may mean that the Maryland delegation, the Democrats, are not going to support this deal. And there are alternatives. Biden's got to just stop spending money like, it's going out of style on Ukraine. That's the best way to get out of this. That's the best way to solve this problem. You want to see why we have to solve it. I mean, look at this. It's just, I don't want this. Do you want this? Is this what you want your mountains to look like? Because I sure as heck don't. I sure as heck don't want that on the Appalachian Trail. Final word on this, and I'll let you all go. There will be a rally a week from Thursday. I will be there in D.C. at the White House. And you can sign up there, actionnetwork.org/events/Biden-stop-MVP-now. You can see it on your screen. I'm going to put all of these links in the description below. And I do apologize for the tech issues that have beset us yesterday, too, a little bit of audio issues. It's a challenge. I got to be honest with you. This has been more challenging than I thought it would be sometimes to get audio to work perfectly in sync with video. But I think it's gotten a lot better. Actually, in general, it's been a lot better. We had some issues yesterday with Catholic Jack and again today, but I think in general, we're really on the right track. All right, have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow.